Today's big question: are the canals of Amsterdam saltwater? Hi, I'm here with Minuturth, and this is a channel about all things water. You probably know that the Netherlands is full of canals, and that many of them are in Amsterdam. But what you might not know is that some people call them the Venice of the North, or even the Venice of the world. This has to do with how beautiful they are. Sure, but also because, like Venice, Amsterdam was built on water, and much of the city is only accessible by boat. Because of this, you might think that the canals of Amsterdam are saltwater. After all, Venice's canals are salty, and Venice is surrounded by salt water. But Amsterdam's story is a little different. Canals of Amsterdam are fresh water. They were dug by hand in the 17th century when the Dutch were undertaking massive public works projects to reclaim land from the sea and create more space for farming. They used the spoils from one canal project to create another, digging a series of interconnected waterways in and around the city. These days, there are around 100 kilometers of canals in Amsterdam alone, which is why we call it the Venice of the North. But while these waterways might look like they have a salty ocean connection, they don't. There are locks that connect them to the sea, but those are only for boats coming and going. They don't mix the waterways themselves. So how do we keep the salt out? Locks are only one line of defense. We also have the river. The Amstel River flows right through the city center of Amsterdam and acts as kind of a buffer between the fresh water coming in from the countryside and the salty North Sea. Still, without regular maintenance, the salt would creep in. That's why the city of Amsterdam spends over $500,000 every year just on maintaining the quality of the water in the canals. How do they do this? Well, they pump out about 20% of the water in the canals every day and replace it with fresh water from the river. They also build temporary dams in the river to raise its water level so that it backs up into the canals, pushing even more fresh water into the system. Even so, the levels of salt in the canals can vary quite a bit depending on wind direction and speed. The river actually has a pretty powerful tidal pull from the North Sea, so the salt can be pushed pretty far up its course during storms. In fact, during really intense storms, the dams that keep the salt out of the canals can fail. If this happens, workers have to open the floodgates and let the river do its thing, at which point they also have to dump even more fresh water into the canals to dilute the salt. The city of Amsterdam doesn't just do this to keep your guacamole from turning into stone, though. They also need to maintain a certain amount of fresh water flow to make sure that the canals do unstagnate and breed disease. Stagnant water in canals can lead to outbreaks of E. coli, which causes diarrhea and stomach cramping, and cyanobacteria, which can cause skin irritation and, in large enough doses, liver damage. So pumping out the water serves a dual purpose: keeps the salt out and the water clean. This whole system relies on the assumption that most people are going to drink the water directly from the canals. In fact, it isn't uncommon for restaurants to serve up canal water as a sort of signature experience. I mean, why not? It's fresh, it's clean, and it comes with an incredible view. Of course, in the interest of full disclosure, we did send off a sample of canal water from our studio in Amsterdam to get tested for salinity. And it turns out that our tap water is actually saltier than the canals. It's probably because it's treated with salt to make it more palatable to our American palates. So maybe it's okay that we never use our hotel room TVs to watch the in-room canal. I'll stop rambling now. Thank you for watching this episode of Minute Earth, and thank you for being subscribers.